Donald Trump being hit with a torrent of catastrophic news this morning. He continues to rant and rave like a lunatic on social media while this is taking place. He's learned that a lot of MAGA Republican Congress members are threatening to do what Marjorie Taylor Greene just did, which is to resign, to leave before the midterms. And this could potentially shift the balance of the House of Representatives to Democrats before the midterms even take place. This is what Jake Sherman of Punchbowl is reporting this morning. The entire White House team has treated all members like garbage, according to sources close with some of these MAGA Republican Congress members who are saying that they may resign pretty soon. And Mike Johnson has let it happen because he wanted it to happen. And the sentiment is at a near-time low amongst these MAGA Republicans. I'll do a longer report on that now. Donald Trump was posting that he believed that these talks with Europe over the weekend regarding the 28-point plan of surrender that the United States laundered through Russia and tried to force down Ukraine's throat. Trump thought this was productive. You know, Europe and Zelensky pushed back against this Trump and Putin plan. And then Europe and Zelensky said, here's what we're okay with, but you have to respect the territorial integrity of Ukraine. And so Ukraine and Europe put out that statement. And now we've learned from a senior advisor close to Vladimir Putin that they will not support Europe's plan. So essentially, we are exactly where we were before. And didn't Donald Trump promise that he was going to bring peace to Ukraine in 24 hours? Oh, wait a minute. Donald Trump lies about everything. As I mentioned, Donald Trump ranting and raving like a lunatic this morning. He's threatening the Supreme Court and saying that if you do not support Trump's tariffs plans, I'm going to do a direct quote of the threat that Donald Trump made this morning to the Supreme Court. You are serving hostile foreign interest not aligned with the success, safety, and prosperity of the United States, is what he says if the Supreme Court rules against him. And then Donald Trump says, you know, the full benefit of the tariffs has not yet been calculated because many of the buyers of the goods and products, in order to avoid paying the tariffs, have stocked up by purchasing far more inventory than they can in order to avoid paying the tariffs. Yes, Donald, because it is a tax on the American corporations, which they pass on to the American people. That's why they stocked up. That's why, because it's a tax, and it's a taxation power that lies with Congress, not the executive branch. So we will see what the Supreme Court says. We expect that ruling to be handed down very, very soon. Also this morning, Xi Jinping gave Donald Trump a call, or we should say a punch to the throat, because Xi Jinping made it very clear that he wants Taiwan. And he timed this phone call with the fact that there is no trade deal with the United States, despite Donald Trump claiming that there was one every other month. Now, our soybean farmers and others here in the United States that rely on China as a market to export goods to are suffering. And so one of the things that Xi Jinping is doing is he's saying, look, if you want us to, in any way try to bail you out, Trump, because Trump, you so misplayed this trade war against China and the world, recognize that Taiwan belongs to China. Do you see how they outmaneuvered him while Donald Trump continues to say, oh, Xi Jinping loves me. We did such a great deal. You didn't do any deal. And China has their knee on your throat because they see what utter weakness that there is right now. And let's talk about how the American people are feeling right now. I think this was a pretty good summary this morning. This is from Harry Enton over on CNN. This is how the American people, by massive numbers and on a bipartisan basis, the American people feel that, because it is, that prices are going up dramatically and that Trump's lying about everything. And this is the worst economy in recent history. Here, let's play this clip.
I mean, just your costs are up versus a year ago. Groceries, 85%. Utilities, 78%. Healthcare, 67%. Housing, 66%. Gasoline, 54%. The bottom line is this. Americans feel like prices are rising in each and every single part of their lives, rising ever climber, and they just don't feel like, Kate Baldwin, that they can catch a break.
The Treasury Secretary in new comments kind of dismissed the impact tariffs is having on inflation, also saying that prices are going to be coming down in weeks. Some other prices are going to be coming down in months. What do Americans think about that?
Yeah, they think he's full of it. That's exactly what they think. I mean, just take a look here. Tariffs raising prices right now. I'm going to come over Kate's side of the screen, 71%.
How dare you?
How dare I do that? 84% of Democrats, 74% of independents, and even a majority of Republicans. When you can get a majority of Republicans to agree with majority of Democrats, you know that the pain is being felt by the American public right now. The Treasury Secretary can try and tell the people something, but they can feel in their pocketbooks. They simply put, don't buy what he and this administration is selling them when it comes to tariffs.
Now, as I mentioned, that Xi Jinping call to Donald Trump was very much perfectly timed at a maximum leverage point for Xi Jinping to, again, as I said, put his neck into Donald Trump's weak throat. Because let me show you what was going on CNBC, where you had Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Agriculture, and she's being asked by the hosts, hey, didn't Donald Trump claim that China was going to buy 12.1 million metric tons of soybeans from the soybean farmers after Donald Trump met with Xi Jinping last month? Well, under former President Biden, China was buying 27 million metric tons of soybeans. 12 million seems to be 15 million less, but I suppose it's better than zero, which is what China was doing under the Trump regime. So, Brooke, why is it, Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins, why is it that China's not doing what they said they were going to do? Is it because it was a fake deal and China continues to exert leverage on Donald Trump's neck? Here, play this clip.
Understand this, and tell me if I'm wrong. My understanding is that you said in the White House, it said that China was going to buy 12 million metric tons of soybeans from the United States by January. We're now just about a month and a half away from that. They have, according to the USDA report, only made two big purchases, and they total in total 332,000 metric tons. How is that pledge, if that is a real pledge, and China has not confirmed that pledge, going to be made in that quick a time?
Andrew, thank you. We're actually about 1.5 million metric tons, but your point is still salient, right? That 1.5 million of 12 million, we've got a significant way to go. I know they are inking the deal this week or next week. Again, every sign is their commitment remains true that they will indeed buy or purchase 12 million metric tons or put the order in. It doesn't mean we'll move 12 million metric tons by the end of December, but it means that those orders will come in according to their commitment and their promise to our president and to Secretary Bessent and to Ambassador Greer. So again, we have every indication that those will continue to move. Even if the purchase order comes in before the end of December, those will move early next year.
And then throughout the morning, too, we saw the continuation of this MAGA gaslighting. You had MAGA Republican Congress member Tom Emmer go on the Maria Bartiromo show and say, prices are down, inflation is great, everything is at a 5-year low, the American people are so rich right now. That's really what these MAGA Republicans and Fox are going with, that we're doing great and everyone's so rich right now in America. Here, play this clip.
Midterm elections, Congressman. I mean, now everybody's talking about affordability. Are you going to be able to convince the American people that, in fact, costs are coming down? Do you want to see President Trump cut tariffs at this point on some of the things that he's talking about? He said he's going to start cutting tariffs on certain things like coffee from Brazil, et cetera.
Groceries are down. Gas is at a 5-year low that you put in your car, Maria.
Yeah, that's good.
And you still have the permanent tax policy that will take effect in January. No taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security. These are the marquee items that Donald Trump ran on that have actually been delivered. And look, they destroyed this economy under Joe Biden for 4 years. Donald Trump has been there for less than a year, and he is already showing progress. Get ready for 2026. I believe it's going to take off, and we will be in a great position for the midterms because Americans will realize that exactly what they voted for when they voted for Donald J. Trump last November, and Republicans in the House and the Senate, promises made have been promises kept. And this is the future is going to be much brighter a year from now.
All right, Congressman Tom Emmer in fighting form. I love it. Good to see you, sir. Thanks so much.
When was the last time you truly trusted the seafood you brought home? I used to question everything from nutrition and taste to sustainability until I discovered Wild Alaskan Company. Wild Alaskan Company is the best way to get wild-caught, perfectly portioned, nutrient-dense seafood delivered directly to your door. Trust me, you haven't tasted fish this good. I was so excited the first time I received my shipment from the Wild Alaskan Company. I received my Pacific halibut and pan-seared it that evening. It was delicious. The Wild Alaskan Company is 100% wild-caught, never farmed. This means there are no antibiotics, GMOs, or additives. Just clean, real fish that support healthy oceans and fishing communities. It's nutrient-rich and full of flavor. Wild Alaskan's fish is frozen off the boat to lock in taste, texture, and nutrients like omega-3s. My favorite, it's also sustainably sourced. Wild caught from Alaska, every order supports sustainable harvesting practices. And your membership delivers flexible shipments, expert tips, and a truly feel-good seafood experience. If you're not completely satisfied with your first box, Wild Alaskan Company will give you a full refund, no questions asked. No risk, just high-quality seafood. Not all fish are the same. Get seafood you can trust. Go to wildalaskan.com/Meidas for $35 off your first box of premium wild-caught seafood. That's wildalaskan.com/Meidas for $35 off your first order. Thanks to Wild Alaskan Company for sponsoring this episode.
You know how brutally pathetic and cruel and unusual it is for people like that to go on and just spew with venom those lies and just treat us all like we're stupid. That's the thing with Trump and MAGA. They think you're stupid. They think we're stupid. That's what they think right here, that they're going to go on and say, you got to love what this president's doing. He may give you a $2,000 rebate check. Here's what Tom Emmer then said after that. He dangles a $2,000 tariff dividend or tariff rebate check. Oh, and we're going to make the American people so rich with the $2,000 check. First off, the average American family has paid $2,000 to $3,000 more already this year as a result of Donald Trump's tariffs against the world. In addition, you're not going to be giving a tariff rebate check. You're lying. Remember when you said you were going to give the Doge dividend checks, but then Doge just shut down after killing hundreds of thousands or potentially millions of people around the world by cutting off things like USAID and cutting other critical programs. Here's what Tom Emmer says, though, about you gotta love this president. He's giving people $2,000 checks. No, he's not. He's not giving anybody checks. First off, not even true. And that's not a way to systemically address the fact that he's destroyed the economy and he's crippled the Americans' abilities to survive right now. And he's psychologically torturing people living paycheck to paycheck. Here, play this clip.
Concerned about the national debt, the way John Barrasso is concerned. What is the likelihood that that passes $2,000 checks to individuals next year, Congressman?
Well, first off, you got to love this president. He looks at this like a business. And when the business is doing well, the shareholders, which are the American people, should be rewarded. How that turns out, we'll see where the president wants to go with it. But the real issue, it is the debt. $37 trillion in debt and growing, Maria. We have to continue to address this, which is why the appropriations process is so important. You can't allow Biden-era spending to continue.
Then you have Howard Lutnick. He's back on selling his sham wow, reference to the infomercial. He doesn't seem like an infomercial salesman, Howard Lutnick. And let me tell you what's going to happen, everybody. I'm Howard Lutnick. I was there. I was with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court loves Donald Trump. They're not going to overturn his tariffs. That's my Howard Lutnick impression. Here, play this clip.
Shay, what is the backup plan should the Supreme Court rule against you?
Well, we are going to win the case. It's pretty clear. I sat in the Supreme Court. We're going to win the case. But the fact is the president has all sorts of policies and tools throughout. He's got tariff rules of 232 in my department. He's got 301. He's got 338. Tariffs are going to be a part of this administration's national security and national economic protection of the American people. But we are going to win the case. So you can worry about the backup plan, but you're going to watch the Supreme Court back this president because this president has proven that he can protect America, and IEPA is protecting America. So we are going to win this case. You heard it from me. I feel confident. I sat through the case. We are going to win.
Yeah, you were there.
Now, I just want people to understand how extremely unsafe internationally the world is with a weak United States right now. So you have Xi Jinping calling up Trump saying Taiwan is ours. That would never happen under former President Biden or under Obama, that China would make a call like that, because they know that it would be met with immediate retaliation, with immediate strength. And one of the things that, and by the way, we're showing you also what happened with Ukraine, the fact that Trump laundered Russia's 28-point plan of surrender. Google translated it into English and tried to force it down Zelensky's throat. But Zelensky went to his European allies and said, no way, no how, we're not doing it, pushed back on it, and then presented a new plan. And now Putin's like, we're not following that. Just a freaking mess right there. But also we have the new Prime Minister of Japan, Takaishi, saying that, because, by the way, because this is out of Trump's weakness, Japan had to put out a statement now saying that it would potentially defend Taiwan if China sought to take over Taiwan. Why is Takaishi saying that in Japan? Because Trump's so weak that other nations have to assert themselves. So then China's envoy says, if Japan dares to intervene militarily in the Taiwan Strait situation, it will constitute an act of aggression. China will resolutely exercise its right of self-defense under the UN Charter and international law. So you have Japan saying, we're going to protect Taiwan. Why? Because US is being so weak and Japan feels its interests are being threatened. China saying, well, then we're going to basically invade Japan. And Donald Trump too scared to even show up at the G20. Like, y'all see what's happening. He's too scared to show up in the South Africa's G20, which, by the way, the U.S. is hosting next year, that Donald Trump had to make up that there's a white genocide taking place in South Africa because it was the first time, the G20 was being held in the African continent, and Trump is so pathetic, racist, and scared that he didn't want to show up, so he used that as an excuse. Going to MAGA Republican Congressmember Lisa McClain, she refused to unequivocally condemn, she seemed to support it, Donald Trump threatening to hang and kill her Democratic colleagues. She's a MAGA Republican. The Democrats who said to the military, you can't follow unlawful orders and war crimes. Here, play this clip.
Conversation. I think what the president was doing, though, was reminding you of the oath that you did take, and there are consequences. So you can have freedom of speech. But freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. And that was the reminder, I think, in that. So everyone focus on I can say whatever I want. Yes, you can say whatever you want. But there are consequences for what you say. And I think that was the reminder he was giving those senators.
And I want to point this out as well. You know, there is a container ship fire about 3 to 4 miles off the coast of Los Angeles right now that has major implications because there's lots of goods from companies like Toyota and Nike and Caterpillar and Honda and Hilton Food Solutions. And there's lots of medical gear. And anyway, this container ship caught on fire. I think the ship was run by One is the group. It was an electrical fire. And the head of the port of LA called the Trump regime and said, hey, we need the help of the feds, because this is in waters as well, like kind of like U.S. coastal waters. Hey, we need your help with this fire. There's hazardous material on here. We have to contain it. No callback from the no callback from the Trump regime at all, which is unheard of. Refusing. And by the way, if Trump thinks he's owning California by not dealing with this container ship on fire, you're ruining the country by doing stuff like this, because this equipment needs to get to other places, red states, blue states, and purple states, and people are suffering. And in order for the companies to understand what inventory they lost, and in order to be able to make appropriate claims, the feds have to go in and deal with this fire, even though Trump hates LA and thinks this is how you screw over blue states or blue cities or whatever. You're harming the country by these things, and you're supposed to be the president of all of America. And by the way, it's unclear who you think you're the president for, other than in trying to enrich yourself and screw over everybody else just on behalf of the right-wing oligarchs. So anyway, that's where we're at today. We'll keep you posted every step of the way here, as always. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. We appreciate you so much.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.